What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Radiovania. This is either episode 53 or this is your Star Wars The Last Jedi review and discussion. Now, John and I had decided a little bit, during the podcast last night, whether or not we were going to put this as its own separate thing or whether it's going to be attached to episode 53. And it all depends on how our conversation goes. We've held back a lot. We've talked about it in the car. We discussed the movie just a little bit, just our initial reactions, but we're about to dive into it very in-depth, and this is going to be heavy spoilers, so go see the movie, come back, this will be here waiting for you in whatever manner that you decide to listen to it. But thanks for listening to the show. As always, if you want to support us, there's at Radiovania on Twitter, radiovaniashow@gmail.com to submit your questions about Last Jedi or anything Star Wars related. We're always happy to hear those. And sitting across from me is the list writing John Swansong Parker.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
It's going. So John's last words before we hit record were, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Why is that, John?
This is the most complex Star Wars film to date. It's just a lot to process.
I would agree with that statement. And that's a good way to put it. One of the first reactions I had when the movie, when the credits rolled, was that was like a hefty movie. Like I kind of wish I had something to... I wish I had a way to line out all my thoughts in like a really cohesive manner, because I feel like everything's kind of jumbled up right now. And like you said, multiple viewings, being able to kind of digest this a little bit more, I think is going to help. But I also think that initial reactions are sometimes where the heart is most true, because you're, you got the adrenaline pumping. I mean, it's been 2 years. 2 years ago to the dot, we were sitting in the Regal Cinemas in Mason, Ohio, and we were watching The Force Awakens, and now we're here.
And wondering what was going to happen next.
Exactly.
Drawing a very linear line of it being like an Empire-esque type of sequel, and Rian Johnson just said, Nope.
We're going to try something completely different.
We're doing our own thing.
Now, do you think that... Let's start out with the differences.
Between this and Empire?
Well, not necessarily that, but like, do you think it was different enough or too different?
I think it was, in a way that Empire Strikes Back is vastly different from the original Star Wars. I think that this is kind of that way, but it's in a different way from those original movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Force Awakens, as we talked about before, is very much of a great way to reintroduce the world to Star Wars, but it does feel like a very Star Warsy movie.
Yeah.
Well, that was the goal.
Sure.
And they did a good job, and they introduced a lot of really good, interesting characters. But like I was saying in the car, it almost seems like a prologue to this story, which is so unique and beautiful for it being so fresh, but also tragic for if you have a certain attachment to some things from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're going to have to learn to let go of maybe some of those reservations you have about how they treat your characters.
Yeah.
And be thankful that you have somebody who is giving these characters something interesting and new to do. Because that was the one thing that like Harrison Ford had a problem with Han is like his story is over. You know what I mean? It's just like he keeps doing the same thing. It's like he's getting pulled into the fight, pulled in the fight. They take Luke places in this movie that I would never have anticipated at all. And it's good.
Yeah, I think, what comes to mind immediately are, we have our criticisms about the prequels. Obviously, you've heard us rant about them on and on and on, but people criticize those movies for not feeling like Star Wars. And then people criticize The Force Awakens for feeling too much like Star Wars, and it's kind of like, well, where are you happy? Like, talking to these to diehards or to casual fans, it's like, where are you most happy? Like, where are you more comfortable? And it's weird because honestly, I think that I would probably side more on the side of wanting something more similar to Force Awakens and something completely different like the prequels. I think a lot of people would feel the same way.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a problem with The Force Awakens feeling similar to A New Hope because it's different enough, and when you look at it under a microscope, you're going to find similarities in almost anything where there is a traditional hero's journey, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of like the similarities that there may be between Force Awakens and A New Hope are like the consistencies in all Star Wars. So like desert planet, ice planet.
Giant space station.
Yeah, exactly. This is Star Wars.
Lightsaber duel.
Last Jedi does not do any... There are hardly any tropes in this movie.
Yeah.
The one trope is the biggest trope that I think that like is sticking out right now. I'm sure if I thought about it more, I could think of some more. But the biggest trope to me was the hero rushing to sacrificing himself and then getting
bailed out,
and then like the kiss before the pass out. You know, like I didn't have a problem with it, but like that was one of the most tropey things I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
and like it didn't have a problem with it, like I said, but like that's probably the most far right to that spectrum that it gets with The Last Jedi. But so give me your review. You have your pros and cons written here.
I do. Do you want to dive into this? Because these are all really specific.
It's up to you.
So let's do our first impressions first. Put a number on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Compare it to a Rotten Tomato.
And
then let's talk about some specifics and where we think this is going next, and then call it a night. Because it's like 3 a.m, and I have to work.
2:30.
Okay.
It's not bad.
We got time.
Yeah.
First impressions. Kind of like we've been talking about. Really fresh.
Yeah.
Unique.
Definitely
shot
unique.
Wonderfully. Great action sequences. Never really a dull moment. They're always doing something. I would probably give it based on the first viewing, a 9 out of 10.
Like I said before, it's different. Mm-hmm. It's not the Star Wars I grew up watching.
Yeah.
But it's also not the prequels. I think it struck a good balance between old and new. I have a few problems, I think, with certain subplots of the movie. Certain side characters I don't think were fleshed out enough. And some of them were underused or, in my opinion, maybe misused in the grand scheme of things. But I felt like what they were able to accomplish with expanding on Rey's character, expanding on Kylo's character, and then the side characters from Force Awakens, which are the ones that I wanted to see, they got their dues. I mean, like, Poe is used really well, Finn is used really well, Rey, BB-8, they're all still the same lovable characters. We just learn more about what makes them tick.
General Hux, even.
Yeah, even like villains, even Hux, even we'll get to like other villains, because I felt like villainy was a bit of a problem. There weren't that many like incredible feats done by these villains, you know, in this movie. It's pretty much just Kylo.
That's what I like about it, though.
I like that, but you know, it's what I liked about the, you know, I like when you can have a cast of villains that are all like interesting on their own accord, and a few of them get cut down in this movie, and I think that it's kind of wasted potential. But at the same time, I think it goes towards. It's hard to tell because this is not a complete story. We're reviewing the middle chapter of a whole story.
Think about like when people saw Empire for the first time.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, you know, like you cut off Luke's hand, really? You know, stuff like that. Like, there's no way he could be his dad. Like, no. Yeah, but like you said, it's not the complete story.
Yeah, it's not the complete story. There's some great callbacks, some great plays on nostalgia, and some great action sequences, albeit I don't think enough of them.
There is a lot of... The one thing that this Star Wars movie does more than any others since Empire is play into the religion factor of the Force, and just like how mystical it actually is and how powerful it can be in the hands of a particular person.
Sure.
Like the people that use the Force in this movie, like the big 5, I guess, actually, they're like all like balls to the wall stuff we've never seen. Like, you know how hyped we were to see Kylo Ren stop a blaster bullet?
Yeah.
They take that and amplify that by like 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
which is interesting.
Stuff.
It's interesting to think about how. That was another thought I had during the ending sequence on Crate. I was like, man, they just keep raising the stakes. It's like it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like I wonder how 9 is going to treat the rising scale of action, or if maybe it's going to be dialed back a little bit. And I think it's going to be dialed back a little bit. I think 9 might be a little bit more cerebral, maybe a little bit more quiet, especially in the beginning. You have this big build-up. I don't think it's necessarily going to be as bombastic.
Yeah.
I think Last Jedi might be the most action-packed of this new trilogy.
In like the long haul.
When it's all said and done, I think it's probably going to go like Last Jedi is the most exciting in terms of like scale of action. Then it's Force Awakens, and then it's probably Episode 9.
But
we'll see.
Can't knock it till we see it.
I know,
you
exactly.
Know what I mean? Everyone's always got the number 3 being the worst.
Yeah.
Which is like, odds are stacked against you, but I think JJ's listened to the criticisms from almost like people accusing him of making a carbon copy. I think they brought him back for a reason.
I think they dodged. I've talked about this before. My theory on that is that they knew that they were going to get flack for it being so similar to New Hope. But I think JJ, when Episode 9 comes out, he's like, did you see how it makes sense in the end? That it's like, it's all about things happening for a reason and like.
Are you saying that everything happens for a reason?
We have to go back.
Yeah.
We have to go back to Crate.
Oh my goodness.
I would probably give this movie
one of my new favorite Star Wars planets.
Yeah, for sure. Really cool. Really used really well.
It's an interesting design. To have
very interesting design.
That bright red salt underneath the powder.
Yeah.
You know?
It was really cool to see it at the beginning where it's like all fresh and white. And then, like by the end of the battle, it looks like
just like blood everywhere,
it's like
but it's
blood.
not.
Yeah,
Yes.
just salt.
Yep.
I would probably give this right now. My gut is telling me 8.5, like 8.5, which is when I went back to listen to Force Awakens, we were saying somewhere in the 8s.
Mm-hmm.
That was both of our impressions. Were
I think
like
that
8
stands.
to 8.5.
I think that stands. Still.
I don't know if I like this more than Force Awakens.
Really?
I don't know. That's what I'm processing right now.
Because there's no Han Solo in it. Because that's what I was thinking about the whole time. I was like, man,
I could use some Han right now.
I'm really missing some Han Solo right now. Yeah. It's. I mean, he's a presence, dude. He's
and I mean, they
do. That's one of my bullet points, and we'll talk about that.
Okay, so then let's not delay the inevitable.
Yeah. Okay. So
what's
the Rotten Tomatoes score?
The Rotten Tomatoes is sitting at a 94%.
94. That's pretty good.
That's
I think The Force Awakens is like a 93. So
that's a good question. I should have brought up The Force Awakens. Hold your breath, folks. Make a wish. Count to 3.
Oh my goodness.
The Force Awakens Rotten Tomatoes is sitting currently, this is great radio, at a 93% with an average rating of 8.2 out of 10. The Last Jedi is sitting at 94% with an average rating of 8.2 out of 10. So they both have the same average rating according to Rotten Tomatoes. However, something to be accounted for is that Force Awakens has 378 published critic reviews, and Last Jedi only has 248. So it has 100 shy of Force Awakens. Obviously, not all publications are rushing out to review Nerd Movie number 1. So we'll see if that score lowers or raises or what, but we'll keep you guys posted on what happens there. 232 fresh reviews, 16 rotten for Last Jedi, in case you were
the curious. 16 that are rotten are just, I mean, come on.
Well, something to keep in mind is that I believe rotten is anything 50% or lower. Is that true? I think it's like 50 or 55 or 60%, which, I mean, that's totally reasonable.
You could constitute giving this movie a 50%.
We're huge into this universe. I mean, this movie's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know if my mom is going to enjoy this movie like she enjoyed Force Awakens. That's a big bullet point that I was thinking of. I was like, before we went to see Last Jedi, I was like, last year or 2 years ago around the same time, it was like Christmas. I convinced my mom and my brother, who aren't big movie fans. I mean, they know Star Wars, but I convinced them to go to Force Awakens, and they both had a great time. I'm not sure.
Fun movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to get the same sense of enjoyment out of Last Jedi that they did from Force Awakens, and I think that's
It's a big
saying
risk.
something.
They took a huge risk.
Yeah, I think
and they
so.
totally let him go with it, which is interesting because they do not let anyone else go with anything.
Ho-ho!
You know, like Rogue
Ryan
One
Johnson.
got shut down by Gareth Edwards, and then the Solo movies getting shut down, and then they transitioned it around Howard. But for some reason, they just like
Ryan
they're like
Johnson,
Ryan
whatever.
Johnson. This kid Ryan Johnson is a genius. He's
got
can do
some-
whatever he wants. You want cows running through the grass? Go for it.
You want space tits? We got space tits.
You want Luke Skywalker to milk a cow and drink it in front of people? All that and more.
It's like a cartoon, man.
It was so. I loved that.
Yeah, that sequence is great. We'll get there though.
Yeah. Farmer Luke, I'm all about.
Yeah.
He's staying in his roots, man.
Yeah. He's drinking some kind of
Drinking
milk.
that
Is that
blue milk.
it's not blue?
It was blue.
It was blue?
Yeah.
Okay. This
Had
comes
to
from
be.
HollywoodReporter.com. It says box office. Star Wars The Last Jedi is soaring to a huge 45 million plus in Thursday previews. It says Disney and Lucasfilm Star Wars is coming to 45 million. That would be the second best preview of number all time behind what movie?
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, you're right. The franchise's 8th installment is expected to make a domestic debut of around 200 million, making it the strongest opening of the year. Obviously, the movie is projected to gross 425 million plus through Sunday. We'll see what happens. But yeah, keep an eye on the box office. I'm really interested to know how excited people are to come back to the world of Star Wars that were casual fans, because the hardcores are there.
Yeah.
See if we can bring back that casual audience, which is another one of my bullet points, like I said. But let's not delay the inevitable any further.
All right. What do you want to do? Do you want to do pros or cons first?
Let's start positive.
Positive? Okay.
I mean, we've been saying a lot of positive stuff about this movie. I think
There's not a whole lot of cons. They're mostly small things. First pro, and probably the biggest pro, Luke Skywalker. Everything that they had him do, it's, like I said, it's very different than your whiny farm boy Luke from Star Wars, your, angsty Padawan learner in Empire, and then your kind of stoic, almost just like reserved knight in Return of the Jedi. In this one, he's like cranky and broken and all this stuff. And it's something that I think, people don't necessarily give Mark Hamill a whole lot of like screen acting chops. It's mostly voice acting stuff. I think he really brought it. They gave him an interesting thing to do. And even though it might not have seemed like something that Luke would have done, he still brought it and like knocked it out of the park. And oh my God, Luke Skywalker did some stuff in this movie that was just so sweet.
Yeah. Luke Skywalker, generally, pro. I'm not sure I loved his end.
Yeah, spoilers.
Well, we already announced.
I know, but just
Spoilerific,
again,
but
because
yeah.
this is a big one. Luke Skywalker is dead.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker.
He became one with the Force.
He passes the same exact way Yoda does.
Yep.
An overuse of power, a very strong constitution, and a submission to the powers around him evaporates.
Finally becoming one with the Force after turning away from it for however long since Ben Solo destroyed his Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
Which was something that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested. I want to hear what you think about all of that, because that's something that I did not expect to go the way that it did. Mm-hmm. Theme with the movie, right? But yeah, Luke was great. I mean, he's from the first scene of him is the continuation of Rey holding out the lightsaber, making this grand gesture, this teach me, this unspeakable power, give me advice, sage wisdom master, and he throws the lightsaber behind him and go fuck yourself. He just kind of and that's the perfect way to sum up. It's obvious that I don't know. Do you think that they had that in mind when JJ was finishing Force Awakens, or do you think that
No.
was? I don't think so either.
I think that was a Ryan
I think that
Johnson
was
thing.
totally a Ryan. I think that was a Ryan Johnson thing, and I think that was someone had the idea of that. I think that Luke was probably going to be very predictable, the Sage Master. I think that was probably just going to be the way that character was fleshed
Would have
out.
been like Yoda.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it was probably
Or Ben Kenobi in
yeah.
the original.
It was either Ryan or Kasdan or some writer that was just like, you know what? This feels too similar. What if we have
Seems like a
Luke?
Ryan thing.
I don't know Ryan's...
He wrote and directed this movie. This is totally all on him. Like, everything.
Well, I don't want to give him all of the credit because, like, you know...
good and bad.
He writes, he directs, yeah, but there's a team behind this movie.
Yeah, there's a Kathleen
So
Kennedy.
we don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But I do think that it was someone's idea that they had to have been like, what if we just make him a little pissy? Just make him a little bit more bitter. And that alone makes the Luke Skywalker character about 1,000 times more intriguing than I think it would have been to just have him be this all-knowing, all-powerful teacher for Rey.
Yeah.
And that makes the conflict and the resolution of that teaching relationship even more powerful.
Yeah.
I think. But, yeah. Pro Luke all the way, for sure.
I really like in this movie with the flashback / explanations of the falling out between Luke and Ben Solo. I like how it's not your trope in Star Wars where a good guy turns bad because he's seduced by power. This one, he feels betrayed by his teacher, and that sets him on a path that he was already tempted with, but he hadn't set it in stone.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting, and it makes it that much more of like it supports more why Luke is the way that he is because he's totally guilty and it's his fault. You know what I mean? And I think that was really interesting. Even though I thought that the flashbacks looked weird.
Yeah, so I want to discuss the flashbacks. Luke did look a little odd. I don't know why. Maybe it was like shadowing.
They gave him like the short hair.
Yeah, he has
so that it
shorter
looked like
hair.
it was closer to the Force Awakens, but they didn't digitize his face or anything like that. So.
Well, I think they were just trying to make him look like younger.
Yeah,
he was obviously wearing. I mean, like Mark Hamill now looks great for his age, but like it obviously looked like they were trying to make his hair like more brown than gray. Which Mark Hamill's hair is gray right now.
Yeah.
So it's like it just looked odd. Like he looked odd. It's not Henry Cavill's mustache odd, but it's odd.
Yeah.
I thought, they did a fine job de-aging Kylo, but Adam Driver already has a baby face.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like not much effort needed there. I liked this plays into the end too, but the only time Luke draws a lightsaber, there's 2 times Luke draws a lightsaber in the flashbacks, and then when he's
projected himself
Luke
across the galaxy.
When he's projected,
awesome.
he draws a blue lightsaber. In the flashbacks, he uses green.
Yeah.
What's happening to that green lightsaber? Is that green lightsaber just like a relic of that Jedi palace now, or is that lightsaber?
Dude, you don't need it anymore. He can project his consciousness across the galaxy.
Somebody gets that lightsaber.
I think Rey will find it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope she goes back and meditates there or something,
and then
gets the lightsaber.
Ghost Luke is like, "Hey, open that box."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, nice, thanks.
But I like one of the last scenes of the movie is Rey holding up the broken lightsaber, and Leia goes, "We have everything we need right here," and I am so ready for that building her lightsaber sequence. We've never done it in any Star Wars movie. This is the perfect opportunity to do it.
What color lightsaber do you think she'll have?
I'm gonna go with green.
You think you'll go with green?
I think green. She's had blue for the first 2 movies. It only makes sense for that tradition to go on.
Okay.
Because she is now one of the last Jedi. It makes sense that she upgrades, I guess. The other thing I want to discuss about the flashbacks before I forget, because I'll forget it, is so what's going on with the Knights of Ren? Are they just not a concept anymore?
That's the thing. Is like there's some things in The Force Awakens that JJ did
that just don't get any recognition.
Well, this is what he does. JJ goes full lost on everything that he does. And at some point, you're not going to be able to cover all those loose ends. Rian Johnson did a good job of tying off some of them to make it less spread out. However, the thing like the Knights of Ren, maybe they'll come back in 9 when JJ takes over again. But yeah, like they were just. I mean, like Luke says that he took a couple of the pupils with him. So I'm assuming that those are the Knights of Ren.
Sure.
But they're just completely AWOL in this one, and they weren't even in the last one except for the vision thing.
That one vision.
So maybe that's like now that Kylo's in charge, he's like, hey boys, guess what? I got the gig. And they're like, no way, you're in charge of the First Order. And he's like, yeah. He's like, come hang out with me. We're taunting this redheaded fuck.
We're taunting. We're gonna beat up on the new punching bag of the First Order.
General Hux, yeah.
Yeah, but so that's something that I really hope. I mean, honestly, that's one of the coolest ideas I think that The Force Awakens had, was this idea of a Sith like council. Like, Kylo has these.
It's a posse.
Yeah, Kylo has a posse.
It's like the Cobra Kai in Karate Kid.
I want that. I want to see that fight. I want to see a bunch of like really like rage-induced, like very, I don't know, just raw power people going against something like Rey.
Rey just decimates them. Okay, you know what I want? Rey's gonna have a double-bladed lightsaber.
Well,
because she's had that staff the whole time.
That's what everybody's thought. Everybody's thought that this movie she was gonna get a staff lightsaber, and I thought that was a pretty safe bet too.
Not in this one.
Not in this one, I guess. But
next one.
Yeah, I could see that being a serious possibility for episode 9.
That'd be badass.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Or like the elf swords in Lord of the Rings, where like they have a huge handle,
and
so
it's like
a
double.
staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she has like.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah. But anyway, keep going. That was my one thing about the flashbacks, was that like I was like, where are the Knights of Ren? We couldn't show anything else about that. Yeah. It seemed odd.
Okay, the next pro, further developing Ben Solo / Kylo Ren's character.
For sure.
They did a good job of not playing into the trope of the Darth Vader trope of having the bad turn good. You know.
Yeah,
they almost like seemed like it could have happened, and then they turned it on its head in a really great way. They continue to cement how, you know, this is your villain for this trilogy. It's him. Yeah. It's Kylo Ren. Again, spoilers. He kills Snoke, which was awesome, and I'm all about it, because I gotta be honest with you, I never really liked Snoke. I like Andy Serkis, but I just think it was too much of like it just seemed like there was a lot going on.
Sure.
And it's not that he's not cool, and like I think Snoke did some cool stuff in this movie. He's got some cool force powers, but I was never one like, I wonder who Snoke is. Is he Mace Windu? Blah blah blah. You know, like all this stuff.
Is he Mace Windu?
There's some really weird theories out there. You should check it out. I want them to focus on Kylo Ren, much like they did with Darth Vader in the original trilogy.
Well,
you know,
they are,
which is cool. And then that led to one of the most badass scenes in Star Wars cinema ever, which is also another pro.
We'll get there. We'll get there. No, we'll get there after.
Right.
I want to talk about Snoke for a second, since we're on the subject.
This is the Ben Solo Snoke.
Yeah, this is Ben Solo and Snoke. Yes, the characterization of Ben and Kylo Ren, you know, as like the duality of him and, you know, Ben, and like the fighting, the conflict inside him, as they refer to multiple times in the movie. It played out really well, and it was. I mean, like, I did not think that he was going to turn, but I did kind of like, I was confused a little bit during the conversion process, because he obviously feels this connection with Rey, even though it was like Snoke induced, at least a little bit, or Snoke aided, I think is what is best described, because there's the end sequence when Rey is like on the Falcon and closing the door, and they do the thing where they cut back and forth between them really quick,
which is cool.
Yeah, which also like is a hint towards the fact that maybe this bond is still there. Maybe it's more than just,
it's like Voldemort and Harry Potter.
Yeah, maybe there's just something inherently connecting these two. I still refuse to believe that Rey is just from nowhere, and doesn't matter. I think that she has some connection to something. I don't know if she is just an accident of the Force, but we'll see.
Versions of the Force. What's her midichlorian count? Tell me.
But
it's off the charts.
So help me understand.
Okay.
She's in the throne room. Kylo brings her into the throne room after they connect with each other. They touch hands in a vision. Or like a connection.
When she's hanging out with Luke.
Yeah.
And he comes in.
She believes that she can turn
a parent
him.
walking in on their kid having sex. And he's like, what the heck? And like blows
down the walls.
Blows up the roof.
She's like, she thinks that she sees his future and can turn him.
Yes.
She goes to help him because she thinks that he and her are on the same page. He's like, come with me, we will do this together.
Come with me.
She shows up, he handcuffs her, puts her in the elevator, and she's like, you don't have to do this, yada yada. She obviously knows it was a trap. He's all like, yeah, don't worry about it, whatever. He brings her in. Snoke's pleased. Like Kylo seems like pleased that he's pleased. And then why does he kill Snoke?
Because, I mean, he's been shitting on him for like 2 movies. Like he's constantly putting him down, at the beginning of the film. He's like, I saw raw potential in you. I was way wrong. Like, you have too much of your father's heart, which is a thing that I really liked. I thought that was cool. But I think he was like, listen, like, I think that I am very powerful in the dark side, and I'm fully committed to this. I'm sick of you talking about this and taking credit for being so amazing, like all this other stuff. And you just did what the Sith do sometimes. I'm not saying these guys are Sith, but they take out people that are in their way. And I just kind of think that's just what happened. I think he had a vision of him and Rey running this show together, and Snoke was in the way of that. So when Snoke was like torturing Rey in that throne room, he was like, I want her on my side, and we can be on the dark side, but not with the 3 of us. Like, you can't be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the scene of him cutting down Snoke. I thought it was shot really well.
Yeah.
Michael Richard just made it back to Cleveland, everybody. Give him a little round of applause. Milwaukee Tools.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought the scene of him getting cut down was great. Well directed, well shot, definitely climactic. I would say that's a pretty big turning point for the movie, is when you realize that this big bad that was built up in Force Awakens is nothing. He's just an upper management that Kylo then decides to, promote himself.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was interesting. Interesting decision.
Yeah.
Like much of this movie.
Yeah. They took it places.
I
like that decision. I don't know how you feel about it, because I do like Andy Serkis a lot.
I think that's
Snoke
my thing.
Yeah, but
I don't. I mean, like, Snoke is whatever. I thought he was cool in the movie.
Andy Serkis will get another job if that's what you're worried about.
No, I'm not worried about Andy Serkis out of a job. Can't do mocap.
He's going to
anymore.
be in that Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, he'll
Black Panther.
Yeah, he'll be. He's doing. I mean, Andy Serkis is great. I was so excited when I heard that he was going to be in Star Wars, because like he has great physicality, and if there's something that Star Wars villains miss, that I missed in like Star Wars villains, it's like this hulking, like weirdly different sort of person. I mean, it's like the Emperor was like this hunchback old man that was like mysterious and powerful, and then shoots lightning. It's like Snoke just kind of screws with him. He throws the lightsaber around and like clinks her on the head, and like, I don't know. I was hoping for more out of Serkis, but that is just a criticism of me wanting more out of like an actor. But I have to separate those two worlds.
Yeah.
The story from like the casting and everything like that, but it's just like whatever. Next pro. Give me your next pro.
The next pro was the complex ideas that they put into place in terms of new ways that the Force can work, such as this communication that Rey and Kylo Ren have with each other, where they're like, they can see what each other are doing, and it's like they're in the same room, but they're not. The idea that somebody so strong with the Force can project an image of himself across the galaxy, and that was really cool with Luke Skywalker. The idea that Leia can pull herself out of space and like fly back into the thing, that was like, there's just a lot of interesting turns that they took with like using Force powers that was different.
Yeah.
But that was cool. And that's, that seems like totally like a, hey, we don't want to fall into the same trope where it's like the only thing Jedi can do is Jedi mind tricks and push stuff. You know what I mean? And like pull a lightsaber over. Like they can do a lot of different things.
Yeah. I agree.
You know what didn't happen though? Kylo Ren didn't do that thing where he knocks people out. He didn't do that at all in this movie. Remember in The Force Awakens when he's like putting motherfuckers to sleep all the time?
Not really.
You don't remember
putting
that?
People to sleep.
He'll just be like, and they'll just like go to sleep, and he'll like. Remember when he like kidnapped Rey?
Oh yeah, that's
he
right.
didn't do that at all. In this one, he's just like, I'm taking this over. This is
Well, that would have seemed pretty mild compared to everything else that he
Snoke
did.
to sleep. He's like, "Can you go to the corner?" Yeah, so that was the next pro. Anything to add on that?
Is this a good time to talk about Leia?
Yeah.
I felt very concerned about the way that they leave Leia as a character. They obviously did not.
Well, they weren't anticipating her to die. They made that public knowledge that her role in 9 was supposed to be immense.
Obviously.
Yeah.
My concern is that they didn't. They didn't
close the loop.
Exactly. They didn't anticipate it. Which, I want to say, all respect to Carrie Fisher. I love her. I mean, she did a great job in the movie. Obviously, but I kept waiting. I was waiting from the beginning of the movie. I was like, all right, when are they going to
close her?
When
story?
are they going to end this? And I was like, okay, she's back. She comes the big scene for me was like she was in the coma or whatever, and then she comes through the door in the blast bay and sees Poe, and I was like, she's still here. I was like,
that was your out right there.
I was like, I did not think that she made it. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful. It's like, I didn't think that she was this involved in the filming process. I thought this happened and it was like a sudden thing, and it was like during production, and they had to, but she's there all the way to the end.
They were wrapped on filming when she died. Remember?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't think about it at all, but I thought it was more of we have to make some change, because they sat down and had a meeting. Or at least that was the big news story.
I think it was more for changes for 9.
Okay, well then, nevertheless, I was surprised by how big of a role she played in the movie, because when the scene happens where I mean, spoilers, we all knew that Leia was always Force sensitive, but now we know that it was to an extreme degree.
She could fly through space.
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
One of my favorite comments on the Reddit discussion for episode 8 was someone said they had it was script layout. It was Leia after flying through space. It said, "I'm Mary Poppins, bitch."
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Mary Poppins, y'all, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was just really surprised with that Leia was there from beginning to end. She got to have a scene with Luke, which was great,
but it wasn't real.
No.
That's the thing that bothers me about this new trilogy is Han doesn't get to see Luke at all. He gets to see Leia in The Force Awakens, and then Luke doesn't get to see anybody in real life because he's on that island the whole time.
Yeah. But Luke and Leia still get to have
they communicate. I understand.
But he's there for all intents and purposes. He's
understand.
Projecting his consciousness to another planet, which is whatever, man. It's Jedi shit, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my thoughts on Leia. She did a great job.
We'll see where they go with 9 because
it's going to be
right around the fact that
really
General Leia is just not there.
Well, how do you think that they handle it? Gut instinct. How do you think that they handle it?
Body double.
That's what I think too.
From behind. No face shot. Some type of she dies.
No,
somehow.
I don't think so. I think body shot, double, face animation, CG, whatever they can do to make her exit the proceedings of episode 9. But I don't think she's gonna die. I think that
she'll just leave.
Yes, I think episode 8 cemented the fact to me that I think Leia's too important of a character for the writers and the people involved in Star Wars to kill her.
Yeah,
considering what happened to Carrie,
2 of the big 3.
Yes,
yeah, it seems disrespectful.
It doesn't.
So do you think,
I personally wouldn't find it disrespectful, but I think a lot of people would. So I do think it's going to be body double. I think it's going to be face double or CGI. And,
like Tarkin.
Yeah. And then
do you think that
having her gracefully exit? Within the first 10 minutes.
Will she just be this is what I think will happen, now that I think about it. I think you're right. What's going to happen is she's going to be there's been all this loss and stuff like that. There's only so much I can do. There's only so much that I've taught you. You are in charge of the Resistance now, General Dameron. And she's going to promote him, and then he's going to be in charge of the Resistance for the rest of 9.
And then she'll
be like, it's time for me to go. You know, it's time for me to move on. I've done all that I can for this cause.
Yeah,
something.
And
like
she'll
that.
she'll have one last great monologue
May
or
the force
line.
be with you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or you're our only hope.
There is literally no way she ends. She literally in episode 8 in The Last Jedi, she got hit with a proton plasma blast from a ship. She flew out into the gas vacuum of space, and then Superman flew back into the ship.
You can't take her down.
You cannot kill Leia in 9. I stand by that firmly, wholeheartedly, 100%. There, she's going to exit the film gracefully with body double and CGI. Although I'm very nervous to see how that looks.
Okay,
But we'll
find
see.
out.
Next pro.
The throne room
Yes.
fight sequence.
Best fight sequence in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Maybe the best fight sequence in all of Star Wars. Next to Darth
It's
Vader
not a
versus
lightsaber
Luke.
fight though.
That's
the thing.
It's not, but it's...
In terms of action sequence, you might be right.
Yeah,
But there isn't
okay,
really.
yeah.
There isn't a lightsaber fight in this movie.
Yeah, I know. Which is kind of crazy.
Isn't that weird?
It's really weird.
None.
I mean, there's stick fighting.
That doesn't count.
There's
and there's
also-
like one cross lightsaber in the flashback.
Yeah.
Ben, no. I made a bad decision. Yeah, no lightsaber fight, but there's just a really killer scene where Ben Solo and Rey just destroy Snoke's guards.
Eviscerate these
It
guys.
was so badass,
And,
dude.
like-
the part where she throws the lightsaber at him, and he catches it and just turns
That was the
it
best
on.
part. That was the cat. That was like
Stabs that
that was a
dude in the
literal.
face.
That was a literal period on the end of one of the coolest fight sequences of all time.
So sweet.
But
like that was a great idea.
so I've explained before. Like I'm becoming a bitter old man, right? Go to the movies, and I'm always like, oh, these fucking kids, these people run around, they open up candies, they have no respect. I can't get no respect. I had a great time.
Yeah.
At the
Our audience
was great,
very nice,
totally respectable, and the girl that was sitting to the left of me was like loving it. Yeah. She was geeking out for everything. Like every time a Porg was on screen, she was like, she's just like holding her chest. And then when that scene happened, she was like, that like he turns the lightsaber on and back off. She was like, oh no. And then like it pans over and the guy has the hole in his helmet. She was like, oh, and she like freaked out. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was loving that. But yeah, that fight sequence, man, is. Give me that Blu-ray. Give me that Blu-ray right now so I can watch that fight sequence about 10 times in a row.
Yeah. That was so
fully torqued.
It was so sweet, man. It's just so awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Really well done on that fight sequence.
Yeah. So good job for stunt coordinator and stuff like that.
And I don't know, I'll ask you again. Is this a good time to bring up my issue with lack of action in the movie?
Sure.
Okay.
Jumping to a quick con.
Yeah, to a quick con that I think plays into with this, the throne room sequence is the best action sequence in the movie, and it lasts maybe 50 seconds, 50 to 60 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe less.
Ish, yeah.
The only other bombastic action sequences we get in terms of like character to character are the Luke versus Kylo sort of like standoff in the end, which isn't really that huge. It's kind of just like cerebral. We get a lot of space battles.
Until you find out what it is, though, it's really cool. You're like, whoa, Luke's got the move, son. And you're like, oh.
But it's all build up. I was like, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be amazing. And then the reveal comes and I'm like, oh, okay.
See, I liked the reveal.
I mean, the reveal was amazing.
He's just sitting there and I was like, no way.
But I'm there like waiting for the best lightsaber battle in the history of Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's all the elements are there.
Yeah.
Cool scenery, two amazing characters. It's like I was ready for I was ready for the guy from SmackDown to come out. Let's get ready to rumble. And like,
yeah. But I think in this one, for that big showdown to happen, because Luke would have kicked his ass, dude.
We all know.
So like,
I just wanted to see it.
I know, but you have to save that big showdown for Rey and Ben. That's what this trilogy is about, and this movie cements that. Like, we have these legacy characters, if you want to call them that, of Han and Leia and Luke and Chewbacca and stuff like that. But this trilogy is about the relationship between a light and a darkness and finding a balance in that between these two characters with a really good war movie thrown in there with heroes like Finn and Poe Dameron versus like the First Order.
Yeah.
But this trilogy is way less about war and more about personal conflict. Whereas like the original trilogy is like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. Big space station, let's go blow this shit up. It's going down. You want teddy bears killing stormtroopers? Here we go. This one, it's not like that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. There is a lot of talking, but it's not like prequel talking where you're talking about like trade blockades and shit like that. You're talking
That's the
about
thing, is that, like,
really interesting spiritual elements of the Force. And
when I mean there's a lack of action, I don't mean this movie never stops.
Yeah.
There's always action happening with quotes around that. There's always action happening. There's always something moving. There's never a moment where people are just standing, like, looking at each other and like discussing something. It's like very rare does that happen in the movie.
Yeah.
But I meant like Star Wars action. It's like fighting, personal fighting.
There's a lot more space stuff.
Yeah, there's a ton of space
stuff.
stuff.
Because there was none in The Force Awakens. All the fighter things were on a planet. Like the dog fights were above Maz's castle.
Yeah, you get that dog fight. You also
base.
get the Starkiller base
but
stuff.
That's a planetary, like they're in the sky. But like this one's like, we're out in the middle of nowhere and we're chasing this cruiser for an hour and a half.
That's the thing, is that like it is kind of it's easy to gloss over the fact that
this movie is a chase.
This
like
movie
Empire.
exactly, but like it's even more palpable than Empire, because Empire is like, you forget that it's just like, because you're so focused on Luke, Han, and Leia that you forget that like the rebels are basically run out of Hoth in the beginning of the film, and then it's like they spend the rest of the movie like hiding.
Yeah.
This whole movie is two old people trying to like pass each other on the 71 freeway, but it's like it's actually like tense. And when it gets to the scene with one of my biggest pros is the hyperdrive sequence.
Yep, that's the pro. We'll go ahead and cross this off.
Go ahead and cross it off. That carries so much weight, and I think that was one of the best moments in the movie for me, just because
running a ship through other ships with a hyperdrive
is something we've never seen in Star Wars.
And now I want to see it all the time.
Yeah.
I just want to be like, all right, we're out of options. Do the hyperdrive thing. It's like the tank missile in the first Iron Man. Like he sends that little tink. Yeah. Why don't you use that on Thanos? It's just like,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
There.
Anyway, sidetrack.
The only side note I had about that sequence is her aim kind of sucked. But like, what are you gonna do?
What are you talking about?
She hits the right wing. I think it would have been much more efficient to hit the middle.
She took out multiple ships, though, didn't she?
I thought she just hit the big guy.
Oh.
It looked to me like she just hit the big ship.
Well, if she would have hit the middle, she would have crushed Kylo Ren and Rey, because that throne room is probably right there in the center.
Yeah, I guess. But
it's just like all the characters are dead.
It's just them's right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just a joke there. But
yeah,
that scene was unbelievable. And like, God bless the audience that we were there with tonight, because no one said anything.
Because it was so beautiful.
It was just gorgeous. Gorgeous shot. I mean, beautiful.
Yeah.
Then the music kicks back in. It's great.
Yeah. That transitions into our next pro, which is the Laura Dern character. I thought was really cool. Of all the new characters they introduced in this one, and I'm talking about Laura Dern, Rose, and Benicio del Toro's character, I think Laura Dern's was the strongest. For me, at least.
I liked Rose more.
Okay.
But the acting from Laura Dern was strongest. Obviously, I mean, she's a seasoned Hollywood veteran. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she's not a YouTuber.
No, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, Laura Dern did a great job. I was a little, I don't know. I didn't love the way that they built her up to be this sort of like bad boss. Because she comes around in the end. She takes a bullet for the crew.
Well, she was following Leia's orders the whole time, but Poe didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting thing to do. It's like, you're not right about everything.
Yeah. just seems like you could have let Poe know, maybe. Like, hey.
No, he was in the doghouse because of the whole bomber thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
true. That's a good point.
Yeah, everyone came around at the end. Next pro is the Battle of Crate, the third act.
Yes.
I just like the way that the planet is designed.
Oh, yeah.
And I think having those rickety old speeders was really cool.
Was
and you
cool.
got the big walkers, and the Falcon shows up and steals
gorilla.
the show. Yeah.
Walking on there.
You get one of my
knuckles.
favorite lines of the movie where they're talking about the Falcon, and Finn's like, "Oh yeah, they really hate that ship."
Yeah, that's a great line.
I thought that was hilarious.
No one laughed at that.
I did.
I was laughing.
Yeah.
Well, that was so funny because like something else that the audience should know is that John and I were split up in the movie,
Yeah.
and there were so many moments I wanted to like look over with that like stupid grin and be like,
Yeah.
did you hear that? Did you
Yeah.
see that?" Like I was geeking out during the whole like everything on the big ship when BB-8 puts the box over him. I was laughing so
That was
hard.
so funny.
It was so great. And he hits that like one stormtrooper. He's like, "What the hell, man?"
Yeah, that was great. But yeah, I was sitting next to Michael, and Kylo Ren's just like, "Take that ship out of that sky, the piece of garbage." And you could just tell that he's like infuriated by the sight of it. And I was like,
"Goddamn Falcon!"
yeah, and I was like, the thing that's funny about it is Michael and I play that X-Wing miniatures game, and
Yeah.
I fly the Falcon all the time, and he hates it. So it's just like, we just kind of shared a little chuckle about it, because it's like, yeah, everyone hates that ship because it's so OP.
It's OP. It's the
Yeah.
best ship. It
is the only
it
ship
made
in the
the-
Resistance now.
It
Spoilers.
made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So yeah, I second that. It was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Wasn't super. I mean, I get I don't know. The fox creatures. What did you think about those?
It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's the only like CGI in the movie, basically, for the most part. Like in terms of creatures and stuff, I think everything else was pretty practical.
Except for the one guy, the little dwarf in the casino that was like putting coins
That was
into
drunk.
BB-8.
Yeah. That was weird.
That was really CG.
Yeah. Whatever. My next pro was the legacy of Han Solo. So he's not in the movie, but he's mentioned. Like
Extensively.
Yeah, it affected Luke, and they have the whole thing with the Sabak die in the cockpit that Luke gives to Leia, which I thought was really cool. It affects.
But then it
Ben.
evaporates.
Well, because it was a mirage.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because he was a mirage. But just like the thought, it's the thought that counts. But yeah, and like how it plays into Ben, and like when Ben and Luke are having that standoff at the end, and he's like, "If you strike me down," he's like, "I'm always gonna haunt you, just like your father." And I was just like, yeah, like they do a good job of being like, yeah, he killed one of the most lovable characters in Star Wars, but there's gonna be some after effects with it, which I think they did a good job of continuing on, making sure that he's not a throwaway character like Harrison Ford might think he is, But I don't know. What did you think about that?
About
like
Harrison Ford, like
the mentions of Han and like the role that he plays in this
No, I mean,
movie
like, I
without being,
echo
like-
your sentiments.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they didn't have a funeral.
the only thing that bothered me about was the only emotion we get about Han from Luke is he goes, "Where's Han?" And then you can infer that an emotional conversation happens. But I would have liked to have like let that moment linger a little longer.
Well, it seemed like he was having a little moment when he when he like snuck on the Falcon when Chewie was trying to eat porgs.
That's one of the top 5 scenes in the movie for me.
Yeah,
is Luke going onto the Falcon
because then he
there's-
talks to R2.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that sequence alone is like one of the most tear-jerking things ever.
Yeah,
because
with
it's the original design, it's the original image, it's the original audio. It's like it's great. It's great. That was one of the most. That was beautiful because
There's a couple of them like that.
Yeah, what's his line that he gives to R2? He's like,
I think that's a low blow.
"That's
or
a low
something
blow."
like that.
Yeah,
or like that.
easy
yeah.
blow or something like that.
Yeah, or like that was an easy move or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny though.
Great, a great exchange between Luke and R2, and
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
pals. They're like best buds.
again, shout out to Mark Hamill, doing
Yep.
a great job acting.
We'll talk about one pro and then we'll do this other one instead. So this is a good one to end on for the pros. My next pro is the Yoda scene.
Yes,
Frank Oz, puppeteer Yoda back.
I think my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, I would agree.
The Return of Yoda.
That part where he's talking about
I was so excited.
failures make a good teacher. Like you have to teach her everything.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And I mean, that's a theme of this movie. It's that like almost no one succeeds.
Nobody does.
The whole theme of the movie is like,
yeah,
we're losing.
Yeah.
And that is its biggest touching point to Empire is that like, there's really nothing positive to be gained from this. It's like we end with this ragtag group of people that have survived so much, but we've lost so much. It's like Finn and Rose try to break in. They try to get this guy that they need to get onto a ship, and they can't find him, so they get this other guy.
And
but
then
he betrays them. It's like Poe tries to do his best in finishing a mission, but he accidentally gets a bunch of people killed in the process. He gets demoted. It's like Rey tries to do
right by
Kylo, and she gets betrayed. It's like everybody kind of sucks in the movie. Everybody fails in doing what they're trying to do.
Except for Leia, but she only fails because she's in a coma.
And she's fucking Leia Organa, so
yeah,
Yeah,
so and then the last pro is
that's what the third movie is going to be called, by the way.
The last pro. They do a really good job in this one, again, of continuing to transition this trilogy into the new regime of characters. And by that, I mean your core characters for this new trilogy are Kylo Ren, Rey, Finn, and Poe.
Yep.
And they do a good job of making sure that these movies are still about them, with having a little soupçon of the original cast, like your Mark Hamills and your Carrie Fishers and Harrison Ford in the last one. So I like again how much like The Force Awakens, they don't rely on those characters, but they blend them really well together while still making it about these new people.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool.
Wholeheartedly.
All right, quickly, we'll run through these cons real quick.
Quickly?
Yeah. Because I'm sure that it won't take too long. I'm sure you might have some more that aren't on my list. We'll start with the Casino Planet.
Yes.
Canto Bight.
My least favorite part of the entire movie.
Yeah, that one subplot was
not what I wanted.
Yeah.
At that moment in time. I was like...
I understand it's to develop the relationship of Finn and Rose, but you could have done it somewhere else with a better thing.
I agree. It was there to develop Finn and Rose, but it introduced a side plot to Star Wars that I thought was really interesting, which is the whole, like, Benicio del Toro isn't a great character, but he gives a really great moment where it's like they're looking through the thing where, like, it's a tank. Oh yeah, they sell the army parts to this guy, but oh look, it's an X-wing. It's like that's a great bit of lore building for the new trilogy, because that's something that no one ever touches on. It's like,
why wouldn't you just sell to everybody?
It's just like, it's like, where did you get? How do the rebellion isn't building these X-wings? Like, where are they buying them from? Like, someone's making stuff for like both sides, and it's like that. That's interesting politics, It's like episodes 1, 2, and 3 were trying to deal with politics that like trade federation stuff that no one gave a flying shit about. That is interesting politics. Like I would actually watch like a 15-minute long subplot about like dealing with those sorts of like inner dealings and tradings where it's like it's almost like Iron Man. It's like the good guys are getting the good things, but it's like maybe they're assisting the bad guys by buying into their, their weaponry and stuff. I thought that was really cool. But the Casino Planet was just not fleshed out enough. You didn't give it enough time to linger. I thought the one really funny thing was they had the craps table where the miniature dude was like on the table shuffling the chips. I was like, that's genius.
Yeah.
But all this stuff with the giant dogs, I thought was like super rushed. Didn't give you enough time to like really empathize with this side plot about abuse of these creatures. And this ties into the ending sequence, which I want to end on, like the transition sequence, because I feel like that's a big part of this movie that we haven't really fleshed out yet.
Yeah.
But it gives context to the ending of Last Jedi. But yeah, it was just not great. It was definitely the moment of the movie where
part.
It was definitely the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah.
And I would be shocked if most of the, like, I haven't read any critic reviews. I've just like looked up the Rotten Tomato score, but I would be shocked if that wasn't like a sticking point for a lot of critics, because it definitely slowed down the pace whenever we were on that planet.
Yeah.
And no Billy D.
Well, that's another con that I have, so I'll go ahead and cross that off. Yeah. Lando doesn't show up.
Lando.
So
where are you,
You get
Lando?
one more chance. Episode 9.
This would have been the perfect opportunity.
Would it have been, though?
It would have made that sequence all that more interesting.
In the casino?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he would have showed up there, if he was like maybe the guy with the red, like how cool would it? I was picturing they see the guy with the red lapel or whatever with the red rose thing they were looking for. How cool would it have been if like he loses that game and gets all distraught, takes off the pin and throws it onto the table, and then Lando picks it up and he's like, fair and square, like pins it back on, and then they go talk to him. And I was like, because
he's not the code breaker.
I know, but I don't know. But dude, this
is my thought. Okay,
go ahead.
Nine is still alive. Also,
blessed be.
Spoilers: Admiral Akbar's dead, so that's a huge bummer. But yeah, Nine still alive, which means they're waiting for that Lando Nine reunion. It's happening. Episode 9. You get one more chance to bring him back.
That'd be so awesome.
They're probably throwing him in the gym, stuff like that. They're getting him ready. But yeah, so that's a con as well. My next con is the irrelevance of the Force Awakens supporting cast in this one. And by that I'm talking about throwaways for characters like Captain Phasma, who they again give less to do than the Force Awakens. Maz Kanata.
Maz is
not necessary
to
set up that subplot. I know why you're including it to have a connective thread, but like, why don't you just wait to bring her back in another way? But
this all plays into the part. It's like we don't need anything that happens on that planet.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't matter at all because everything that they do is all for naught. It just ends up being that the scene that you get, which is Finn versus Captain Phasma with the laser swords, and then Phasma dying.
Yeah,
that's literally the only reason why any of that stuff exists, and it's like that subplot is just like super frustrating to me.
They must have had Gwendolyn Christie there for a day. She's only in one scene, one sequence, and she dies.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Also, I won the bet.
Yeah, you won the bet. John won. John
she
won the
didn't take her helmet off. You see her eye.
You see. So I'm gonna ask the bartender to fill up a drink.
You buy me a drink and you get the first sip. But
that's
I get
fine.
The rest of the drink.
All right,
Deal?
that's deal.
Cool. So next con for me, I thought I didn't hate them, but sometimes the porgs were a little annoying to me.
I don't understand this criticism.
The yelp that they have. There's a scene. This is the only one that really. This is why I put porgs with a question mark, because I don't hate them. It's not a Gungan scenario. But there's this one scene where Luke is giving Rey her lesson to be like, reach out and stuff like that. And like they're walking out onto the rock and he's talking and you see it on the screen fly by and it goes, and I'm just like, why can't you just let them talk? Like, why does this thing have to be flying around making noise right now? And I also wasn't a huge fan of, like, are they going to be on the Falcon all the time now?
I like that bit. I thought that bit was really funny.
I like the bit where he's trying to eat one.
Well, but that plays into the rest of the thing, because that bit I was laughing so hard because like Chewie's like
when he's flying around, he's pushing him off.
Be kidding me! But I thought the funny part wasn't like Chewie pushing them off on the cockpit or whatever. It was that like Chewie has this like lovable change of heart where he's just like, you know what, whatever, I'm vegan. He's like, I'll just embrace. Chewie becomes a hipster. He embraces like the vegan vegetarianism, and then like there's a scene of all these porgs nesting in the Falcon. That was so funny. I love that shot of like they had the nest in like the hallway, and I like the porg designs because there's only one moment where they're like totally CG, and it was when the one splatters up against the wall when it's like they take that sharp turn. But every other time it was like they almost look like puppets.
They're real.
Yeah, that was awesome. I totally dug it. Okay. I didn't find them annoying. I thought they were totally.
I just felt like
that one scene. Yeah, I do. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was the one part.
But it wasn't like they lingered on it. It was more like these things are like bats or birds that are just like. I mean, the island is an island. I mean, there's animal life.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that they have a really distinctive call.
Yeah. My next con is there still was not enough R2-D2 in this movie.
I was wondering if you were going to say this in your cons.
There's obviously more than there is in The Force Awakens. Cause
definitely more C-3PO.
There is more 3PO, which I was happy about. That's why it didn't make the list. But The only one really good part is the part that we talked about earlier, where it's him and Luke talking on the Falcon.
But man, that part is so satisfying.
I know, but the rest of the time he's just kind of like hanging out until he reunites with 3PO at the end when they all escape on the Falcon. But
I just think that I don't want to sound negative by saying this, but I think you've exhausted all clever new things you can do with an R2 unit.
Because you have BB-8.
Because you have this robot that can emote and talk and like be a little bit more lifelike and fast and keep up with the characters. Like there's one scene where Poe's running and he's like, "Don't wait for me."
Yeah.
It's like BB-8 is like the perfect droid. It's like R2-D2 serves his purpose in being
R2,
like a connection to these characters. But
I just really like R2-D2.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them in any of the anthology movies. That
R2
was like
and 3PO?
Yeah.
You didn't like that in Rogue One?
No, I thought it was super cheesy. Didn't fit at all. But I like that.
What's worse, that or the two guys from the cantina? He doesn't like you.
I would probably say the R2 and C-3PO stuff because it's like I don't remember their lines being all that clever.
It was something about like, what do you mean they're going to Scarif? How come we're the last people to find out about these things?
Something like
R2?
that. Yeah.
And he's like, I thought that was good.
I mean, it's whatever.
Okay.
Do you have another pro?
Last con.
Last con.
Benicio del Toro's conclusion.
Okay.
I thought it was a little confusing. At what point was he working for the First Order, or was it the whole time? And also, his conclusion leads right up to when they hyperdrive into the side of the ship. So, like, did he survive? Or is he dead? Because they don't show him really getting away. And maybe this is because he might be just, like, in the long run, a throwaway character, but I have no idea.
I don't know. This again goes back to the whole subplot with the casino planet. It's like he only exists for that purpose. He doesn't interact with anybody else but Rose and Finn, and it just doesn't matter. Like he doesn't matter. That whole subplot doesn't matter.
Paid to set up a fight with Phasma and Finn.
Yeah, that's why this movie is a B for me. I mean, it's like that is my biggest negative about A-. Yeah, sure. Whatever. It's like that's my biggest negative is that there's literally one side plot that doesn't resonate with me at all.
Yeah, but in a 2.5 hour movie,
yeah, exactly.
You get the
it's
other
like
2 hours.
Yeah, it's fine. So even I guarantee you that wasn't a half an hour of side material. That was like 15 minutes, maybe less.
Yeah, but it sets up the end, which is why we need to talk about that.
Exactly.
There's a kid out there.
Yeah. So let's end the pros and cons with that because that's kind of in the middle. It's not a pro or a con.
The Force is woke.
Stay woke.
Yeah, it's the Force Awakened, and
yeah. So there's
a kid who can pick up brooms like Harry Potter.
Up. Yeah. So literally, I thought it was a super weird decision.
To go with the last shot instead of being in the Falcon.
Yeah, because I thought that was totally a great shot. It's like all the characters there. It's like Empire.
Too. Yep.
I thought that would have been totally fine. I did not need that last shot. On further thought, though, I think that is the team at Lucasfilm and at Disney saying like, this is your cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is that
there's more.
There's more.
There are more Jedi.
Yeah, because
there are more Force users, I should say.
Yeah, I'm glad that Last Jedi didn't end with like as monumental of a cliffhanger as Force Awakens. The Force Awakens cliffhanger was great. Not too much, but not too little. This is just kind of like we have a conclusion. Oh, and there's also this
world building. It's world building.
Sure.
It's setting up the idea that is why Rian Johnson is getting his own trilogy, and that is to continue to expand the universe beyond it being about the Skywalkers.
Yeah,
which is something that I think is interesting about why he chose. I don't know if this was his idea or a team effort, at least in the confines of this movie, to say that Rey's parents are nobody. So she might not be a Skywalker in the long run. They're kind of weaning out that regime and being like, Star Wars isn't just about this. Yeah. This isn't a soap opera about one family. It's about this galaxy of people and this connective thing called the Force that ties the whole thing together. Which I think is what... It's more metaphorical, I think, in a sense.
Yeah. I still think, like I said,
symbolic.
I think Rey is something. I think it's something. It's got to be like...
I don't think so.
I think it's something.
Yeah. Started from the bottom. Now she's here.
And that's just here. But yeah, I was not a huge fan of that closing
I didn't mind it.
moment. I mean, I didn't mind
I was waiting
it.
for that broom to turn into a lightsaber. I was like, what?
I didn't mind it, sure, but like I wasn't like when the credits rolled, I wasn't like, oh. Yeah. I was just kind of like, okay, there's more out there. I would have been totally more satisfied, I think, if it would have just been that last shot of everybody on the Falcon. But
I think you know what I think the last shot should have been? Yoda and Luke's ghost sitting on that cliff.
Yeah, that would have been way
and
better.
then him being like, so Master Yoda, what happens now? He's like, we're down to the last Jedi. And then Yoda again says, no, there is another. And another. And another. There's a lot. Having sex, people are. All over the galaxy. I love that laugh,
yeah,
dude.
it was
that
so
was
great.
Puppet
Yoda, man.
Can't get over how great
that
that
was
scene
amazing.
was.
I was crying.
Yeah,
I mean, like I had like a little tear
when he hit him on the head with the cane. I was like, he goes, "Young Skywalker, how I've missed you." I was like, this is so good,
so good.
Thank you for doing that, George.
Yeah, that scene was great.
Or not George, Kathleen.
So yeah, we discussed pretty much everything that I'm
looking forward to seeing it more.
Yeah, we'll obviously the next time we get together over winter break for Radiovania, when we do this next, we'll talk about updated opinions.
I can't believe we're not going to be able to talk about this until all of our friends see it on Saturday. Connor, John, and Ben.
Yeah, those working stupid stiffs.
Are you kidding me? Make time.
Let's do a little section. We have just a few minutes left on the show. We're gonna this is obviously gonna be its own show because we've been talking for an hour.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a segment called the Comment Corner. Give me a jingle.
You got a comment, so do me and Zach.
Nice grammar. I'm just gonna read you I'm just gonna read you a few great select comments from the Reddit subreddits, comments and discussions for the Last Jedi. You give me your thoughts, and I'll chime in, okay?
Okay.
I Want to Die on Earth says, when Luke went on the Falcon again and reunited with R2, he went back to his young self for a moment with his speech and speed, and it really hit me hard for some reason. I felt like this was very true.
It is true.
Like, he felt... that scene felt more undeniably Luke Skywalker than I think any in the rest of the movie.
Yep.
Like, it just felt very young Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I would agree.
Sexy Gay Palpatine writes... I'm glad I got to see Luke Skywalker drink titty milk.
That part was so great.
I was laughing so hard.
That montage of him doing like worthless farm chores where Rey's just like following him is hilarious.
So funny.
When he like does that pole vault thing to get a fish, and then like the next scene he's carrying this big ass fish on his shoulders. I was like, what is he doing?
He's being Luke, man.
This is the Last Jedi here.
Wormy Wiz says Ben totally planned to be shirtless that one time. Quote, oh, Rey, you caught me at a bad time. I was just working out. End quote.
That was funny.
Louis Ben Croft writes, Luke Skywalker projecting a force ghost across the galaxy to fuck with Kylo Ren is the level of asshole I truly aspire to be.
Yeah. That was
Pretty
good.
awesome.
That was good stuff. I love when he was just like, see you around, kid. It's just like, because that's what his dad would have said to him.
Yeah. The Big P writes, I really don't understand why Admiral Holdo didn't tell Poe she had a plan. If she did tell him, he wouldn't have let Finn and Rose go, which ultimately led to most of the transports being blown up when the code breakers sold them out. How do you feel about this?
That makes a whole lot of sense. I can see an honest trailer coming from that or something.
Yeah, I mean there are a few
plot holes.
significant plot holes. Yeah, that to me is one of them. Like the Holdo holding out on
Poe
thing. Like, I mean, that plan could have been that plan could have been materialized quicker. But maybe I think the answer, like the fiction answer, is that like they needed time to buy so that he get to a place where they were closer to Crate. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
People talking about the ship getting blown up by the hyperspeed. Bryce Sci Guys says, Hux, I'm gonna kill this traitorous bastard. Pulls back coat. Kylo wakes up. Okay, maybe not. Hides blaster.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was really good.
I liked that one.
Hux's characterization is really fun. Really, really good. I mean, it's like they kind of they've struck this cool balance between like lackey and like boss man, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, he's just getting tossed around by Kylo Ren, though.
No. We'll read a couple more. It says, AVPT writes, I imagine that the general opinion on this film must be quite divisive. It is Star Wars after all, but can we all just agree how fucking amazing Adam Driver is? He really takes Conflicted to a whole new level and fucking kills it as Kylo Ren. The throne room sequence where he and Rey fight together may be one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars. Also, at the end of the film, Finn opens some drawers in the Falcon, and you could see something that I'm almost 100% sure are the Jedi books in there. Earlier in the film, when Yoda destroyed the tree, what he told Luke was, quote, there is nothing in there that the girl does not already possess, end quote.
Oh, she stole the books. I didn't even think about that.
Well, how do you think that plays in? Do you think she's, like, studying the scripts, or do you think it's just, like, she knew that maybe these would play in importance?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jasher writes, good thing that one guy tasted the stuff on the ground to let us know it was salt, not snow. He's my hero.
Salt.
And he like spits it out.
Dude, the director of Rogue One was a cameo. He was one of those troopers. Did you see that? Gareth Edwards?
Yeah, Gareth Edwards. I did see that, yeah.
He was like, he's there. He's like, hey, they're still letting me be a part of this.
Yeah. Even
though they stole my movie from me.
And then I'll read this last quote here. 108 OTJ writes, I really don't know how to fully judge this on one viewing. All I'll say is that Yoda may have provided the most beautiful piece of dialogue in the saga. Quote, we are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters. End quote.
That's so good, dude. That's brilliant. What a good idea.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to offer. Unless you have any closing thoughts, John.
Unsure of where they're going to go with 9.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing.
I think we should do a Radiovania episode dedicated to episode 9 predictions.
Sure.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
It's like a long way away.
Each of us giving our pitch.
Yeah. What
we think is going to happen. But obviously, the next Star Wars thing to look forward to is Han Solo next year. One year from now.
Just Solo.
Solo, sorry.
Yeah.
Which
Han Solo's too many syllables.
Yeah. The poster was hanging up in the Cinemark today, which is cool. Not seen that before. But
that's the title card.
Yeah, just the title card. But John, I want to say I appreciate you. Thank you for staying up and discussing this. I'm glad we did this now. I feel like we would have been too groggy to handle this tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I agree.
But thank you all for listening. This has been your episode 7 review discussion. We're glad you enjoyed the movie. We hope you did. We definitely did. I mean, like, I thought it was a fantastic film. Looking forward to seeing it again and looking forward to discussing it. Yeah, seriously. 2017 has been a great year for entertainment. I mean,
the political scene.
maybe as a country we're kind of being screwed over, but everything else is great.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
As always, as I say it every time, follow us at Radiovania on Twitter. Go to radiovaniashow@gmail.com and send us questions, comments, concerns, topic suggestions, yada, yada, yada. If you disagree with any of our pros or cons about Last Jedi, let us hear them. I mean, I want to hear about what you guys think or, how you guys have processed the movie. And Connor, I know you love writing into the show now because that's your new thing. And we're going to make that a consistent segment of the show.
Connor's Corner.
Perfect. Connor's Corner. John just dabbed. Connor, when you see The Last Jedi, write us in your review and we'll read it on the air and we'll discuss what we think. Also, go to radiovania.com, click the red subscribe button, like a video, leave a comment, watch a couple videos. Let that ad for Pizza Hut Pizza Bites play out because that gives us like 60 cents or whatever. So, there you go.
Boom.
All right, John. May the Force be with you.
And also with you.
Good night.
Good night.